Greetings and welcome to the channel. My name is Dr. Gyesie, transformational coach here at Inner Mileage, where we help folks understand the trauma-informed basis of limiting self-beliefs and how to take informed action and assumed and inspired action to create resilient lives right here, right now. Today, we're going to be exploring a very deep topic, which is about, for an empath, authentic living beyond narcissistic abuse. Because we know that under narcissistic abuse, one is living under the false self. So you're not merely surviving narcissistic abuse, you're actually going through a profound alchemical initiation. Where others see pain, I see initiation. Where others see collapse, I see transmutation. Because narcissistic abuse is not just an unfortunate experience, it is the crucible that forces you to discover authenticity at a level that polite society never teaches. So today, I will break this down across 5 dimensions. We're going to talk about this from a scientific perspective, from a scholarly perspective, from the occult, the practical, and so forth. So let's start. In the book, The Body Keeps the Score, and I like to reference this, it demonstrates that trauma imprints in the limbic system. And for empaths, this is amplified because our mirror neurons, which is the very mirror neurons that are responsible for empathy, are hyperactive. And this makes an empath a sensitive receiver of the narcissist's rage, projection, and shame. Similarly, in polyvagal theory, it shows that your vagus nerve, which governs this nervous system, is hijacked during abuse because you're pulled into fight, flight, freeze, or fawn modes. But with recovery, this same nerve becomes your portal into safety, rest, and authentic connection. In quantum physics, the observer effect states that the reality is shaped by observation. And during abuse, the narcissist projects their distorted observation of you until you believe it. But when you begin to observe yourself clearly without distortion, you collapse the abusive wave function. You create a new quantum timeline of freedom. Because chronic abuse floods your system with cortisol, the stress hormone, and adrenaline. And over time, this creates dependency. It's what neuroscientists call trauma bonds. And breaking these bonds requires restoring balance through your oxytocin, which is the bonding chemical, authentic connections, serotonin, which comes from inner peace practices, and dopamine, which comes from healthy reward cycles. So trauma really operates like a fractal equation. What does this mean? The narcissist repeats the cycles of idealization or love bombing, devaluation, and then discard. And this recursion is predictable until you change the initial variable, which is self-awareness. And once you introduce authentic self-awareness, that pattern collapses completely. You see, this is what happens. This is what really happens. So it's really about deep evidence in a real way, right? In a real way. And it's important to realize that science confirms that you are not weak. You're not broken. You're a living mirror when you learn to observe yourself with clarity, your brain, and all these factors. Your reality begins to reorganize itself towards truth. Now, from the scholarly dimension, right, when you think about this from a psychological, sociological, and economic standpoint, in Alice Miller's drama of The Gifted Child, she explains why empaths are vulnerable. As children, you learn to suppress your needs to attune to the moods of caregivers. And this created false syndromes because narcissists target this pattern and they exploit the empath's gift for attunement as a weapon. In Evan Goffman's theory of dramaturgy, for example, which is a presentation of self, it explains why authenticity disrupts systems. Because when you step out of the narcissist script, social performance collapses. This is why after recovery, you may encounter recognition and joy from some, but overcompensation, defensiveness, or jealousy from others. See, this is a very, very deep and profound thing to realize. And it's also important to recognize that abuse is structured around scarcity, right? A narcissist convinces you love is rare, safety is rare, validation is also conditional. And this creates a market of manipulation where you overgive to earn scraps of affection. And healing restores you to abundance because authenticity creates surplus value. And you generate worth by being, not by performing. And this disrupts every transactional relationship. So, from a scholarly and systemic analysis, it reveals that your healing is not just personal, it's revolutionary. And when you live authentically, you're no longer a cog in the economy of scarcity. You become an economy of presence. Now, in the occultic and esoteric dimension, if you want to really go very deeper, in ritual magic, for example, a spell is cast through repetition, intention, and energy. Narcissists gaslight, love bomb, and devalue in cycles. This is ritual abuse. It conditions your nervous system into compliance because abuse is a spell of domination. And breaking the spell requires counter rituals, speaking truth, naming reality, and reclaiming energy. The principle of vibration states everything moves, everything vibrates. The narcissist keeps you vibrating at fear, shame, and guilt. But once you stabilize in courage, love, and truth, their frequency cannot hold you. And the principle of correspondence shows us above, so below, which means breaking the spell in your mind shifts the outer world. In alchemy, this is known as nigredo, which is the blackening, the breaking down of form. This is the chaos of abuse, whereas albedo is purification, the stage of healing. Nigredo, rubedo, albedo. And rubedo is a red stage where there's embodiment of authenticity of the soul, because abuse forces you through all three, which is nigredo, the blackening, albedo, the purification, and rubedo, the red stage, to make you an alchemist of your own life. That's what pain does to you. So abuse was an initiation into deeper knowledge, which was unconscious on the part of the narcissist, but sacred on yours. And the spell can only be broken when you claim and reclaim your own vibration. If any of this resonates with you, type transform in the comment section and recognize there's no one like you and keep soaring. But let me wrap up here. In Buddhism, the Buddha taught that suffering, known in the Buddha's language of Pali as dukkha, arises from clinging to illusion. And the narcissist thrives by keeping you attached to illusions of love, approval, and image. Whereas recovery is the path of insight, or vipassana, which is clear seeing. Even more specifically, in Christian mysticism, St. Paul was known to say, or said, now we see through a glass, darkly, but then face to face. The narcissist clouds the mirror with lies, and healing is polishing the mirror until you see the Christ light, the divine essence in yourself. So, even in a Kant philosophy from Ghana, the Kra, the soul, is eternal and untouchable. And the narcissist can wound your spirit, your sun, but your Kra, your spirit, remains whole. Therefore, healing is not about fixing the soul. It's about aligning your personality with your external Kra, your soul. You see, this is what it's about. This is what it's about, You begin to realize that this is how spiritually recovery is your reorientation of your mirror. You no longer exist to reflect the narcissist's false self. You reflect divine essence, authenticity, and truth. You see. Now, the practical ways to escape abuse vary. But we've talked about all these things that can help you. And empaths, you need to realize that abuse was not your end, it was an initiation. Scientifically, your brain and nervous system are wired for resilience. Your recovery disrupts economies of scarcity. And esoterically, you're breaking alchemical spells. Spiritually, you are the polished mirror of divine truth. And practically, you're reclaiming your life through sensation, ritual, and community. This is your moment not to shrink, not to hide, but to live authentically as the awakened empath. And when you awaken, systems shift, timelines bend, and the entire world benefits from your presence. If this resonated with you, type transform in the comments. Keep connecting, keep soaring, and know there's no one like you. Peace.